Do do do, theme song. Do do do, I'm broke so this is my theme song. Do do do, just imagine this is an awesome theme song. Do do, theme song. Hello, welcome to Left of the Box. Bonjour, bienvenue. I'm Sandy. Discourse around why men fall down the rabbit hole and land in poop piles known as incel groups, or why they look to men like Andrew Tate, who has the mentality of a rabbit trying to burrow into a kangaroo's pouch, as a role model, has exploded on social media. Okay, yeah, it's Twitter. It's mostly happening on Twitter. That's where I live. However, a platform incapable of allowing nuance and is run by a man who is so petty, if his skin was any thinner, he'd be a puddle at the bottom of a barrel, is probably not the best place for this conversation. Go ahead, push my buttons. Want more of my stuff? You can find me on Twitter and TikTok. If you can, please support my content by becoming a patron or purchasing something off my wish list. Links are in the description box below. Every little bit helps. Men are awesome. Men have wonderful energy, and men have positive roles in society. When people talk about the patriarchy and how it's harmful to women and LGBTQ plus folks, what's often left out is how it's also harmful to men. Strict gender norms and expectations are put on men. Pressure to conform comes from the media, men in power, families, religions, and widely accepted cultural customs. Any deviation from this often leads to men being ostracized, mocked, insulted, and told they're doing man wrong. This can cause men to feel isolated, afraid to ask questions or express themselves, unable to find friends, and bottle up their emotions. And hurt people hurt people. This does not excuse bad and harmful behavior. It feels like a lot of the discourse is coming from people who think that by talking about the root causes of men becoming incels or horrible people means we're trying to justify that behavior, brush it off, or exclude other groups. No, absolutely not. Men are responsible for their actions and need to be held accountable. And women and non-binary folks face the same kinds of pressures, often to a larger extent, and suffer worse in the patriarchy than men do by far. Our issues are in no way invalidated by acknowledging men also need support. We can work on all of these at the same time. It's not an either or. Another part of the problem with the discourse are people assuming something said was a blanket statement, or people actually making blanket statements. Not all men participate in the patriarchy the same way. Not all men are bad. Not all men want to dominate and treat others as less than. Not all men are radicalized for the same reason. Not all men consciously think, my life sucks, but if I suppress others, I'll maintain my place in the hierarchy. Not all men who have been radicalized are irredeemable. What I want is to reach men before they harm others or themselves. I've seen a lot of statements from people saying men shouldn't need to be told how to behave, that since men are responsible for the patriarchy, individual men don't deserve kindness. I see people saying that it's not whoever's responsibility to teach them, that they should put the effort into learning for themselves. How? It's true that a lot of what they need to learn can be done on their own through empathy and observations, but it will never give them a full understanding. Hey, hi, future me, just kind of jumping in here. I've been learning that when I talk about some things, people often don't realize the context because I have a bad habit of not saying it out loud. Yay, autism. So I want to be clear about something. Different people will say, men should know how to behave, or it's not my job to teach them, for different reasons. Many people say it because others will approach them with questions before bothering to put any effort into learning. And many people don't want to be asked to relive their traumas to help others learn. And most people are tired of putting the work into teaching without any compensation, or people just don't feel like it's their job. All of that is completely valid. It's no one person's responsibility or obligation to paint a picture. I'm referring to the people who will look at this tweet, "The rise of lonely single men. Dating opportunities for heterosexual men are diminishing as healthy relationship standards increase." And instead of suggesting how to have healthy relationships, they use it to attack, insult, mock, blame, laugh at men, jump to assumptions about the men, and go after any man who asks how to improve. Different people learn differently. Some people need interaction and to ask questions. I'm one of them. I'm one of the most annoying people in a workplace because of how many questions I will ask. I will find every little detail not in the instructions and need to know why that. How does it connect with this? But then what if this happens? But I saw this and it's not there, but it's worded differently and I don't get. Well, basically, not everyone can read a book, absorb the information, and understand what they're supposed to do with it. If you're a man, or really any person, feeling insecure, it can take a lot of effort and strength to put your vulnerability on display by asking for help. If the first thing that happens to that person is they are laughed at and criticized, the lesson they learned is don't bother asking because you're a loser for needing to. Also, I'm not saying that all or even the majority of people on the left will attack a man for asking a question. Far from it. But it only takes a few people to lash out one incident for that person to shy away. Then comes along someone from the right telling him that his hurt feelings are valid, gives him external reasons for it, and answers his questions by blaming other people for his problems, leading him to believe it's not something within him that needs to be worked on. Instead, they'll teach him the only way he'll ever be able to have a relationship is by being someone he's not or through manipulation or force. So, what I'm suggesting is when a man asks a question, no matter how obvious it may seem to others, we push back on those who would mock him and we direct him to resources and to the people willing to offer support. I think I made my point clear. I guess I'll find out in the comments. I get the feeling there's going to be a lot more videos on this subject. Why do so many people view being compassionate as a chore? The patriarchy is the problem. That's what we need to attack. We don't do that by throwing all men under one blanket. If no one outside of their group is willing to talk to them or take their concerns seriously, how do they learn what's right or wrong, good or bad? I'd rather not have to wait for them to make a mistake to learn from it. I'd much prefer for them not to make the mistake in the first place. We can't advance with progressive ideals while leaving one group behind. One of the goals with my channel is to provide a positive, supportive space for men. Why do I want to do that? I'm non-binary. All my life, I've had an easier time socializing with men than women. Doesn't mean I don't have any women friends. It means I have close friends from all genders. But since I tend to relate more to male personalities, I'm more relaxed with them. And because of that, I've seen and heard things from men they don't feel comfortable sharing with other men and are often too ashamed to talk to about with most women for fear of looking unmanly. When it comes to issues that are unique to men, there's a notable lack of support from people on the left. There's no one reason why men become radicalized. We need different types of people on the left providing different types of support. The group I feel most able to support are men who want to do the right thing, but don't understand what they're doing wrong. You don't know what you don't know. Boundaries, what's appropriate, aren't always clear-cut. They shift depending on where you are, the relationship with the person, the context, and the events leading up to a particular moment. A behavior can be fine in one situation, and the exact same behavior can be inappropriate in another. For some people, it's very difficult to distinguish the difference. There are some things I think should be obvious to everyone, only to find out it's not to most. And there are some things people think are obvious that go completely over my head. I'm autistic. Between that and being perpetually sarcastic while being sincere, but not understanding social cues when directed at me, has led to some interesting interactions. You see, I can be very sarcastic and I can be very sincere, and I think it's fairly obvious which one I am at any given time. Turns out, not always the case. Here's the funny thing about all of this. A lot of us like taking pride in our individuality, embracing our differences, and acknowledge how our past, good or bad, influences our perspectives. We're unique, just like snowflakes. So then, why do we get all upset when we learn not everyone thinks like us, and that people can draw different conclusions from the same set of variables? So, if you're a man and you have a question or you want advice from a non-male perspective, so long as it's done in good faith, I'll answer it to the best of my ability. No judgments. I know the Serfs plug a good Reddit you can go to ask questions and get supportive replies. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. I sent out a tweet to them asking, but since they have no clue who I am, it's unlikely I'll get a response. If I find the name, I'll add it in the description box below. But I encourage you to check out the Serfs' content as they're also very male positive. Do you know how you can help me get responses to random tweets about important topics? If you watch other left-leaning YouTube and Twitch shows in their comments or in their live chats, shout me out. Please help me get my name out there so we can spread the progressive message together. Don't forget to hit buttons and leave comments. If you can, please support my content by becoming a patron or purchasing something off my wish list. A special thanks to those of you who already have. Men, women, folks, if you're watching my show, you rock and are a wonderful person. Salut, à la prochaine. Thank you for watching and stay tuned. I'm Sandy, wishing your tomorrow is better than your today.